What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today, I'm gonna jump right into it. We're talking about how I export my beats from the MPC ONE onto my DAW, which I'm actually using Ableton. Doesn't matter what software you guys are using. You could be using Reason, Ableton, FL Studios, Pro Tools. The reason why I want to go through this is because the way my workflow, everybody's workflow is different. I like to make my beat on the MPC ONE a basic structure like my intro, my verse, maybe a chorus, but I usually just do an intro, verse, and I'm ready to export once I feel like it's almost done. Once I export my beat into Ableton, that's where I do fine tuning. I might make some adjustments. I might add certain elements to my beat. And I don't know, I get more creative once I'm editing on my software. So before we jump into it, I do want to mention, you guys do need to pick up either an SD card or an external hard drive or a USB stick, something that you can save your project onto. I'm actually going to be leaving a link to this SanDisk SD card. I use a SD card most of the time. If not, here's an external hard drive, but check the links down in my description if you guys want to pick one up. All right, so we're right here on the MPC ONE. This is a beat that I was working on the other day. And in this beat, all I have, as you guys can see, these are my sequences, these are my tracks, and these are my programs. This is my BPM, my beats per minute. On my sequences, all I have is an intro, a verse, and a different variation of the verse. That's pretty much it. But before I export my beat, I do want to structure this beat. You know, obviously I want it to start with the intro, and then I wanted to go to the verse and then to the second verse. So that's kind of how I want to export it. So when I import it on Ableton, it has that structure. So before I start structuring the song, I'm gonna play a little bit of my first verse just so you guys can listen to what I have going on right here. So let's give it a listen. So obviously, I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but on track number 1, I have my sample. On track number 2, I have my drums. Track number 3, I have my bass. That's all I have in this beat. On track number 2, my drums are all together. I have my, because this is my drum program. My drum program has the kick, the snare, the hi-hat, shakers. So I'm gonna show you guys right now how to separate all your tracks within a click of a button. So when we import it into our software, we have everything separated. So let's jump into our song mode, which we're gonna structure right now. And the way to do that, you're gonna hit menu, and on menu, you're gonna hit song. So right here is you guys can start structuring your song so you guys don't have to go through different sequences. You guys can put it all together right here. Obviously, I wanna start with my intro, and the way you guys can insert your intro sequence, you just hit the button right here where it says insert. And right here, you guys can, when you guys click this little button right here, you guys can hover through and select different sequences that you've created. In my case, obviously, my sequence 1, I wanted to be intro, and I have it right there. I'm gonna hit insert again. On sequence 2, it's gonna go to, I'll start with verse 1, and I'm gonna hit insert again, and then it's gonna go to verse 2, the different variation of my verse. And if you guys want, I'll hit insert again, and I'll end it with my intro. So if you hit play right now, it's gonna start with your intro, it's gonna go to your verse 2, and then it's gonna go back to your intro. Once you guys have it all structured the way you want to export it, what I'm gonna do is hit convert to sequence. What this is gonna do, if you hit convert to sequence, it's gonna put this whole entire song structure you've created into its own separate sequence. So you guys don't have to go through a bunch of sequences anymore. It's just gonna play through in a sequence all together. So in my case, sequence 4 is not used, so I'm gonna actually hit do it. And if you guys go back to main, remember my sequence 1 was verse, sequence 2 is my intro, sequence 3 was my second variation of the verse, and now on sequence 4, is the whole song mode that I just put together. It's all together on this sequence that I just put it on, which is sequence 4. So if I hit play, it's gonna start from the intro, the verse. So we're pretty much ready to separate and export all these tracks And before I do that, I'm gonna show you guys on track 1, again, is my sample, track 2 is my drums, track 3 is my bass, and that's it. Like I mentioned, I just have sample, drum, and bass. But before we export this, I want to separate all my drums into their own individual tracks. And the way you're gonna do that is you'll go to your track where your drums are at, and right here, which is in track 2 for me, I'm gonna hit this little pencil icon. Once you guys hit the pencil icon, hit explode. When you hit explode, as you guys saw, it just muted automatically my drum track. So the drum track is no longer gonna be playing. But if I scroll through, track 3 is bass, but now on track 4, I have my snare. If I hit solo, you guys can hear it, but it's all separate now. Track 5, it should be my kick. Track 6. So now what we're gonna do, since that's done, is I'm gonna hit this little folder icon and I'm going to hit export. Once I hit export, all you guys need to know right here is gonna be explode tracks. Make sure that's selected. File format, I'll keep that as WAV. Bit depth, I'll put it at 24. Your sample rate, I'll leave that at 44.1. And that's pretty much it. And now we're actually ready to hit export. Once I hit that, now remember I mentioned make sure you have your SD card inserted on your MPC or your external hard drive, which in my case, my SD card is called my samples. That's the way I labeled it. And right here, you guys, I would suggest you guys do whatever you guys want, but I suggest you guys create a folder. And in this folder, you guys can name this whatever you guys want, but exports or bounds files or stems. I'm going to name this stems. Hit do it. And in the stems folder, whatever the beat is called, I don't know, whatever you guys want to name your beat, but make sure you guys create a new folder. My recommendation is as you guys are going to name your beats, in my case, I'm going to name my beat 001, but you guys can name it whatever you guys want. But I recommend at the end of that beat name, you put the beats per minute, put the BPM of the song. So I'm gonna put 85 BPM because that's the BPM of this song. Hit do it. And now when I hit save, it's gonna start exporting each individual track, which this might take a few seconds. All right, so as you guys saw, it's already done. Once we're done right here, we can actually turn off the MPC, go into Ableton and start importing. So let's do that right now. All right, guys, so right here we are in Ableton. This is what I use to edit and mix and all that. So what we're gonna do is I already inserted my SD card. So I'm gonna go to my Finder, which is right here. And I have my SD card, which is called my samples. In this SD card, remember I asked you guys to create a stems folder or a folder where your exports are gonna go to. In my case, I named it stems. And in this stems folder, I named my beat 001, 85 beats per minute. So I remember I told you guys, remember your beats per minute and put the name right there. So 85 beats per minute, I'm gonna go back to Ableton and I'm gonna switch 120 beats per minute to 85. So now when I drag and drop these audio files, it's gonna match and it's gonna be in sync at 85 beats per minute. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Grab all these, drag them over and drop them in. Once I have these all inside of Ableton, what I usually will do is just grab all this, line it up to the beginning of bar 1. Once you guys have all these lined up in bar 1 of the beginning of this song, maybe you guys can help me out here. I'm not sure how to fix this. If you guys know this issue, please let me know down in the comments. But every time I drag in audio files into Ableton, it turns on warp. So I don't want this to be on warp because if you guys drag all this over, this is all off beat. So make sure you guys go to each track and turn off warp. So once I turn off warp, what I'll do is just to make sure you guys are like on the down beat, I'll grab some of these files and just make sure this is playing good. If you guys are using another DAW, I'm sure you guys don't have to go through this extra step. You guys gotta make sure this is in the downbeat of the beginning, because if not, then trust me, your beat is gonna be all off time and yeah, it's no good. I'm gonna go ahead and play the beat and everything should be in tempo. And that's it, guys. This is how I export my beats. Now I'm ready to go in here and fine tune all of this however I want. I can add some drops. So you guys get the point. Right here, you guys can start mixing your song. You guys can start doing different elements, adding something to the beat, taking something away. And for me, I'm a lot more creative when I have everything on the grid like this on my software. So I hope this video was helpful. If you guys found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'm definitely going to be pushing more videos out. Again, guys, thank you so much for taking your time and checking out this video. I'll catch you guys on our next video.